Hello, David. Hello, in between the lanes. Yes, it's our normal the Monday after live stream, but it's on Tuesday. So yeah, just for the purpose of keeping the name consistent, we're still gonna call it the Monday after, even though it is on Tuesday. Didn't do it last night, obviously, just due to me traveling. Yeah, I drove all the way back from Alabama to Texas last night. It's a long drive. Obviously, I'm not going to live stream while I'm driving. And then I got home late, and the mixture of A, I'm tired from a long day, and B, it was late at night and I didn't even know who would be awake or not. I just opted to push it to today, Tuesday. So we're doing the Monday after on a Tuesday. This will be a common trend. So for any Saturday night races, we'll do a Sunday night live stream. And that'll be the Monday after on a Sunday, or if a race gets rain delayed to a Monday, we'll do the Monday after on Tuesday, or the Monday after on a Wednesday. So just for naming purposes, we will keep the name consistent, regardless of the day. All right. So I heard that a lot of people were complaining about commercials. I didn't have to watch a single commercial. It was great. I was very happy. But no, for real, I am curious what people thought of the race, all of them this weekend. ARCA, Xfinity Cup, whatever you watch, just let me know what you thought of it from the TV standpoint. I always love to hear about that. From everything I read on, Twitter, reading YouTube comments under the highlight video, not a lot of people were happy with Fox amount of commercial, just things they missed, I guess. So, I wish I could do something for you there. I can't. I mean, theoretically, I could live stream from the track, but I can't see everything, and also, I've only got so much battery. So, I guess I wish I could do something, yes, but I'm pretty limited in what I can do. So, just let me know what your thoughts were. Let's do a quick thoughts, and then I'll get back to the comments here. Quick thoughts. ARCA was terrible. Like, usually ARCA's terrible because they over crash. It gets too hectic. There's like 3 cars at the end. Or ARCA, it's normal for a bit, then it gets hectic, then it's normal again. It's an anticlimactic finish. Nothing happened. There was one competition caution and nothing else happened. It was a 5-car breakaway at the end. Nobody made a move. Nothing happened. One guy led all 60, 70 laps at Talladega in the ARCA race. So the ARCA race was bad, just straight up bad. Not a lot of passing, not a lot of anything. I mean, the top 6 cars broke away, the top 8, and then it broke down to 7, 6, and then the final 5. So that was probably the worst race I've ever been to in person. I'm sure the ARCA drivers were all trying their best, but I mean, just from the fans' perspective, I had some friends with me, and one of them, he had never been to a NASCAR race. I was like, oh my gosh, man, like, dude, ARCA's crazy. Like, the amount of crashes that happen, it just gets it turns into a crap fest. And, if you don't know what's going on, it's kind of entertaining just seeing all these guys wreck each other. And then nothing happened. I went up to him after the race. I was like, man, I'm sorry, that was disappointing. I'm disappointed, But thankfully, the Xfinity race was better. There was a lot of passing in that. We saw a lot of lead changes in the Xfinity series. I mean, just thinking off the top of my head of guys who led: Austin Hill, obviously the winner, Jesse Love, Mark Kligerman, Brandon Jones. We saw SVG leave for a lap or two. I want to say, did Ryan Sieg, I think, led for some laps there. We saw the SHR guys up front too, I want to say, but just a lot of different guys up front. Xfinity usually is Xfinity is usually the best series in terms of the actual racing in most tracks, but the super speedways, they've been a little bit behind, but this weekend I thought they put on the best show. So really good race in the Xfinity series. It was a little silly at the end, just, the lineup, and Man, all those people up front, other than Jesse Love, they had never been in contention for a win. I get that for some of these teams, a fifth place finish is a win for them, for some of these teams, or a fourth or a seventh or whatever. And so they're going to see if they can make up one more spot, just one more. Man, I just wanted someone to push Brendan Poole to the win there. That would have been so cool. The redemption, the paint scheme, it was all setting up. When I saw Brendan Poole pull up side by side with Jesse Love out of turn 4, I was like, oh my God, it's going to happen. And then Alfredo left him hanging. So I get if you're Alfredo, you want to go for a better finish, but from that position, you're not going to win. Like, just push the guy to a win. Get third, get second, get fourth, whatever, and you'll be a hero for pushing this underdog story, this redemption underdog story to the win. But ultimately, Anthony Alfredo did not. So he can do what he wants. He drove a great race in the Cup and Xfinity Series. Anthony Alfredo finished 6th in the Cup Series. He led a couple of laps. The Cup Series race, I've seen a lot of mixed opinions about this. People seem to not like the fuel mileage, and I understand that. But I personally would rather see him 3x3 than single file 38 cars deep. But that's just me. Sure, I wish it was a little bit different. Sure, I wish they were pushing 100% the whole race, but it was an all right race. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. A lot of people did not enjoy it, but I personally liked it. I thought it was a good race. It was entertaining. It was calm for the most part. You had the incident on the backstretch with Bell and Haley, and then you had the Toyota crash, which, of course, Eric Jones got hurt in, which, sucks to see. So, back to the comments here. We'll talk about the finish and all that. Just absolute chaos that happened there at the end. But let's see here. The chat. Fantasy. I'll look into the fantasy standings in a minute. Last lap was crazy. Yeah. So the last lap, when I started recording with 5 to go, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to get this crash on camera. That's cool. They haven't done it yet. They're going to do it, whether it's on backstretch or that it's right in front of me, tri-oval, whatever. It's going to happen soon. I was like, 4 to go. All right, still hasn't happened. 3 to go. All right, it's going to happen with 3 to go. No? Okay, 2 to go. Yeah, they're definitely crashing here like in Xfinity. 1 to go. All right, it's definitely happening here, but it's going to happen in the tri-oval because they're not going to junk their cars on turn 2. And that's what happened. McDowell, I could not get... there were people next to me that were kind of throwing up their arms, so I kind of got a half glance at it. I just saw McDowell go up into the wall, and then you just see smoke. You can't see anything else. And where I was sitting, you could not really see the wall because of the people in front of you. So I had no idea that LaJoy was like on the wall, like at the bottom of his car was on the wall. And so I'm just watching Logano spin, Larson spin, Barry spin. McDowell's car is just junk over here. You see LaJoy finally. I just saw LaJoy sliding a bit at the end, and I was like, okay, he was a part of a normal crash. Then they show the replay, and it was hard to see because the sun was directly in it, but I saw the McDowell thing, and I was like, okay, Brad clipped McDowell. But then after second look, I was like, okay, McDowell just threw a terrible block and wrecked himself, and therefore the field. Well, then you just keep on looking. Every other replay, you see something new that I had not seen. LaJoy is freaking flipping. Barry is like this in the air. Everything's happening. And then finally you see some people just limping to the finish, or like Shane Van Gisbergen. He was in the back of the pack. He tried to lead that outside line. That outside line was about 8 to go, started to go. Chase Elliott, Shane Van Gisbergen, Ryan Blaney, and a couple of the guys finally got it to where it had a little bit of momentum that they could make up 1 to 2 cars every lap or so. And then finally, oh my God, this is about to be 3 wide here in a minute for the lead. And so Kyle Busch jumps up, and Kyle Busch jumped up at a good time to where he got up and he could take the hit, he could take the push from SVG, and he could ultimately, do something with it and not completely stack up the line. The problem is that Ty Gibbs jumped up there. When Ty Gibbs jumped up there, Kyle Busch gets the push. Everyone's kind of stacking up, but not too bad. But when Kyle Busch gets to Gibbs' back bumper, if he hits him, he's wrecking the field, and all of a sudden the top line's dead. It's gone. Nothing happens with it ever again. If Ty Gibbs doesn't jump up there, I think the outside line has a chance to do something. I'm not saying that that's the line that wins the race, but they have a chance to make it exciting. So ultimately, it wasn't meant to be. But yeah, crazy finish. Tyler Reddick, the winner. We got to see Michael Jordan in victory lane. That was really cool. Obviously, a lot of different sports outlets reporting on that because it is Michael Jordan. But yeah, let me get back to this comments. It was a commercial with 5 to go in stage 2. Well, thankfully, there were no commercials in front of my face because I was there. But yeah, I read that. That sucks. They should never, especially at a super speedway, you should never do a commercial with under 10 to go in a stage or a race. Hamlin and Bubba were in my lineup, but of course they were involved in the wreck with the Toyota train. Yeah, that was a weird one. It just looked like everyone stacked up. You know, John Hunter hit Bubba, and Bubba it was a hard hit. And so Bubba kind of got squirrely after he got hit, and he clipped Jones, and then they all just started wrecking. But ultimately, you know, just unfortunate hits. Hello, Grant. Hope you're doing well. 2022 Roval was worse. I'm assuming you're talking about compared to ARCA. No, the ARCA race was worse than 2022 Roval. 2022 Roval at least had some strategy aspect to it with Elliott, Allmendinger, and Reddick. But no, the ARCA one was rough. Ford doing what they doing should win. Yeah, this was Ford's big opportunity. I fully loaded my fantasy team on Ford this week. I was like, this is the week. Everyone's talking about it. They're going to finally show up. They qualified extremely well. You know, they qualified 1, 2, 3 with McDowell, Cindric, and Gilliland. They were lined up 1, 2, 3 in the tri-oval, or coming to the tri-oval with McDowell, Keselowski, and Gregson, and a damn Toyota won the race. So if you're a Ford fan or if you're a Ford executive, you are freaking screaming right now. Like, how do you control that race? You lead a ton of laps with McDowell. You lead a ton of laps with Logano. You sweep the freaking stages. You lead the most laps in the race, if I had to guess. I haven't done the exact math, but, you know, McDowell led 36 laps. Logano led 15 to 20. Cindric led 10 or so. I think Todd led a couple. I mean, how do you lose that race? How? I mean, I get McDowell, what he's doing. This might be his only shot at a win this year. I think he's going to be a contender at Daytona. I think he'll be a contender at some of the road courses. But thinking big picture, what if this is his only opportunity? You have to do everything you can to potentially get that win, to get your team into the playoffs, and to get your team a Cup Series victory because they don't come that often for a front row. But man, part of you, I get in that moment, everything is literally going 200 miles an hour. And I'm not a driver, so I don't know what I'm talking about here, but you don't want to settle for second. You don't want to settle for third. You don't even want to settle for sixth. You are leading the race with 1,000 feet to go. I don't know, man. Just that second block, you have seen it so many times where someone goes to block high or someone goes to block low, and then they do the opposite, and an aggressive block come to the tri-oval. We saw Kyle Busch do it in 2009 at Daytona. He ended up in the catch fence. We saw Carl Edwards do it in 2009. He ended up in the catch fence. We saw Bubba Wallace do it in this race last year. He ended up in the wall. So you can throw a block. You can throw an aggressive block in the tri-oval. I'm not discouraging that, but the second block was terrible. Terrible. So, McDowell, I get why you did it, but you also just completely killed Ford's chances of being there because Brad had to check up, Gregson had to check up, and just by and was able to get the win. So, Reddick, he could have 4 or 5 wins this year. He could have won Vegas. He could have won Texas last week. He could have won, was it Phoenix? Maybe Phoenix or Bristol, something like that. So Reddick, that team, they've had speed, but they've had pit road issues. They've had untimely cautions. But ultimately, that they've been extremely fast, and finally something goes their way. Finally, something goes on the good side of the luck chart versus the bad side of the luck chart. So very good. What exactly is afoot? Yeah, that was hilarious. SVG got on the radio in the Cup Series race, and his spotter's talking to him. He's saying, oh, this guy, he's about a foot on your quarter panel. He's 1 to 2 feet. And SVG, he's from New Zealand. The U.S. is like the only country that uses I don't even know what system we call it, the American system. That's probably not what it's called. But everyone else in the world uses the metric system, meters, centimeters, whatever it may be. And SVG gets on the radio after his spotter says, hey, he's hanging on your quarter panel by a foot. And he says, yeah, man, could you just stick to car lengths? What's a foot? Like, what a foot is. And so all the memes come in, there was the original "What the F is a kilometer," and it was George Washington like shooting a machine gun. Well, now we have a bunch of SVG New Zealand patriotism with "What the F is a foot" and stuff. So I found that very humorous, and obviously, he's from a different country that doesn't use the system here in the U.S. As I said, the U.S. is like the only or one of just a few countries that uses this system. So, yeah. Let's see here. It's crazy that BJ McLeod led laps on speed. You'll see it in my full video tomorrow, my full weekend video. I was getting loud for McLeod, okay? So I'm sitting with Grant here in the comments. He was at the race with me. And so we're sitting there watching the race. They're 3x3 or whatever, and he taps me on the shoulder, and he's like, hey, look at the top lane. Look who's second in the top lane, and they're all in turn 3, so I'm squinting a little bit. I see a dark car, and I'm like, is that who I think it is? There's no way. They come back by, and it's BJ McLeod. I'm like, oh my God. Whoever's in the top lane, get down. Like, leave. Get out of here. Leave. And then they do. And the next thing I know, BJ McLeod in the unsponsored all-black number 78 is leading laps at Talladega. He led like 5 laps. I've got him on camera. I was losing my mind. Everyone around me's clapping. And then finally, he has some issue. He hits the wall, whatever the issue was. And the guy behind me says, oh, the light was too bright for him. And I was just like, you know what, man? I just wanted to turn around and be like, how dare you disrespect BJ McLeod like that? But, we're all having fun at the race. There's no point of getting into it over BJ McLeod, leading laps. But for that team, that's huge. I know they still ended up finishing 31st, 32nd or whatever. But to lead laps, to be up front, to get that TV time, that is huge for that team. I like BJ McLeod. Seems like a good guy. Seems like he knows what he's doing. He's very passionate about racing Xfinity and Cup. Obviously, their Xfinity team has had to scale back a bit. Sold the charter in the Cup Series team, but they're doing things, which it's really impressive. So to see him lead laps was really cool. We saw so many random, because of all the fuel saving, lead laps. We saw BJ McLeod. We saw Justin Haley in a Rick Ware racing car lead laps. We saw Anthony Alfredo lead some laps there in the number 62 car. We saw both Colleague cars, Hemrick and SVG lead. We saw John Hunter Nemechek lead for like 20 laps. We saw a lot of random leaders that you would not normally see lead at, Dover next week. Dover next week, if BJ McLeod showed up, he would not be leading laps. If Anthony Alfredo in the 62 showed up, they would not be leading laps. John Hunter Nemechek will probably not lead laps this week unless Toyota's got some secret NOS in their car or something. So that's what's fun about these super speedway races, is we see guys up front that we don't normally see. So I appreciate it. I have fun. LaJoy wall ride versus the Chastain wall ride. Yeah, I saw someone tweeted something to the effect of, hey, Corey LaJoy, you're going to get a penalty this week because it's illegal to do a wall ride. So I thought that was really funny. I thought that was clever, whoever did it. But yeah, that was really funny. Cool to see SVG take some risk in his first Cup Oval race. He did really good in both races, honestly. He was top 10 the majority of the race in the Xfinity race. He scored some stage points. I know we haven't done a recap in a couple of weeks now because I've been at the races, but I was watching him the whole race. He was up in the top 10, as I said, the majority of the race. He even led a couple laps in Xfinity. And so the Cup thing, they're saving fuel, and, the field is shuffling so much. I think I counted 24 guys led laps on Sunday out of 38. That's an approximate. It might have been 23 to 22, but that's my quick memory. It was 23 to 24. I'm pretty confident. But Xfinity, like, they were going 100% most of the time. They may have not have been making aggressive moves every lap because it's early in the race, but SVG took the lead there for a lap, 2 laps, or whatever in Xfinity off pure merit, pure speed. It was impressive. It's his third super speedway race, so he's learned a lot since, that Daytona race. Remember that Daytona opener? He got involved in a couple of incidents. 1 or 2 of them were triggered by himself, but ultimately learning, and that's the whole purpose of this year. And he looked good. He started to gain more confidence. Early on, he was a little bit more conservative. He would just stay in his lane. He stayed on the top the entire first stage until it got down to it. But then the second stage, he went to the middle, went to the bottom, and then he kind of got back to the top. But then, you never know. Third stage, he starts shifting around, starts going, making moves, and next thing you know, he's fourth with 2 to go, and then he runs out of fuel. So I thought he did great. That was probably one of his more impressive oval races so far. But ultimately, it was a really good day. And then on the Cup side, front to back, just because everything was so chaotic. But he led some laps on speed, led some laps up there. Regardless of how he did, he led laps. It wasn't only leading laps from fuel strategy. Well, technically it was, but not from like a pit cycle, So really good weekend for him, really good learning opportunity. The results didn't show, but yeah. Paint schemes, favorite paint schemes. Obviously, the winning car, the 45, was a beautiful paint scheme. The Jordan schemes rarely are bad. There's only 2 I could think of. But the 16 looked great, man. The Xfinity car looked good. I know what they were going for, the blue, cold, the frosty. But, man, that Sunday scheme with the red, the blue, and the black, that looked great. The 45, as I said, a lot of guys just use their normal, like the Liberty University. The 9 was the same. Obviously, Larson with the Hendrick cars. Brad Keselowski with his Castrol. I'm trying to think if there was one that just stood out and just screamed at me. Todd Gilliland's generator car always looks pretty. But those are probably the few. I might be missing some. Obviously, Bell. I've raved about how much I love Bell's Mobile 1 scheme. Getting to see that in person finally, that was beautiful. But yeah, those are a few. Blaney's Wabash paint scheme is a nice change up from the normal Menards look. So those are the first few I could think of off the top of my head. If I think of one later, I will bring it up. Let's see here. Hello, Daniel Barry. I think I'm a few minutes behind, but hello if you're still here. Hope you're doing good. Duke Chronic says, how the heck did you get seats the start-finish line? That would be thankful to Grant up there in the comments. We talked about him earlier. We were at the race together. He had gotten the tickets early in the week, so everyone thank him for the nice view. So, but as for Xfinity, I just got the cheapest tickets and moved. I don't know. Is that like a crime? If it's a crime, then I didn't. I'm joking. So yeah, we'll play it safe. That's a joke. But let's see. BJ McLeod is paying for it on his own dime. Yeah, he's got a few extra dimes now ever since selling the charter. So they pick which races they're going to go to. They're going to go to the highest paying races. So Daytona, Talladega. I think I remember reading something about them going to the Brickyard in July. So wouldn't be shocked to see that either. That's a high paying race. So ultimately, they're going to go to the high-paying races, and they're going to put a lot of effort into it. So, All-Star Race format has been released, says Danny Alex. Hello, Danny. Is that tonight? I don't know that. Oh, I feel behind. Oops. I'm usually on top of this stuff. Oh, wow. They actually did. I didn't think you were making it up, but, good to know. All right, let's see here. We got some breaking news in live stream. We haven't had that yet on the Monday after. The first ever breaking news story during the Monday after. My fear is that it was going to be Eric Jones, but no. NASCAR and Speedway Motorsports announced 200 lap main event for the All-Star race. We're talking about the All-Star race now, then I'll get back to the comments that I'm still behind on. But we got breaking news on the live stream. The All-Star format is being released. So it's at North Wilkesboro. It's still $1 million if you win the race. It's 200 laps. 200 laps. The 200 lap main event will have 2 breaks. One at the halfway point, lap 100 out of 200. So for those math experts out there, 200 divided by 2 is 100. So we will stop at lap 100. Then we will have another at lap 150. Teams will have 9 sets of tires for the weekend, 5 sets for primes, 4 sets of options. Fancy. Teams will have 3 sets of primes and 2 sets of options for the preliminary races. So they're going to have practice, qualifying, then they will have heats. And then, of course, there's the open for those who are not locked in. I'm pretty sure it's the normal lock-in scenario, which is past Cup Series champions, former All-Star winners. If you've won in 2023 or 2024, then ultimately you will be in the main event. But someone like, let's think here, Todd Gilliland is not locked into the event, whereas Kyle Larson is locked into the event. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is locked into the event because he is a 2023 winner. Let's see here. It's making it seem like they have different options for tires, so that's neat. There will be another pit crew challenge. That's cool. I may have to do a separate video for this or quickly mention it in a video tomorrow. Just there's a lot to cover here, and I feel like it'd be better to show you with graphics and stuff or just the actual quotes. So let's see here. The pit crew competition staying the same. It looks like they're doing different tires. That's what it seems like. So, yeah, there we go. But 200 laps, it will be break at 100, break at 150, and it looks like they're using different tires. So, F1, they're known for this. They've got different compounds of tires. They got a soft, medium, and hard every weekend. So NASCAR, it looks like, will have this for the All-Star race. The All-Star race is always where things get experimented at. If they want to try a new engine package, if they want to try a new aero package, and I mean like an aggressive one. Like when the first time we saw the intermediate package for the end of the Gen 6 was at the All-Star race. So when they want to do something aggressive, something that hasn't been done before, whether it's inverted lineups or pit crew challenges, different qualifying, whatever it may be, they do it on All-Star Weekend because that's when you can get freaky in a sense. That's when you can do things outside of the box, and that's when you can experiment because it's not a points-paying event. If it ends up sucking or it ends up being controversial, so what? Who cares? It only affects 2 or 3 teams, So, yeah. Hello, Buffalo. Buffalo with a Houston Texans profile. It's confusing. No, I'm just kidding. You're a good man. But speaking of, you're a Texans fan. They had some nice new uniforms that they released today. That's not on the topic of racing, but it is relevant. Can we appreciate how Cody Ware was running up front? But yeah, one time I looked up, he was like 4th. I'm telling you, man, everyone was up front at some point in this race. Everyone. Numbers 00 through 99. There's not a 00 in the Cup Series anymore. Numbers 1 through 99. Trackhouse sandwich. Jimmy Johnson, 11 win coming to Dover. Oh, no. Stop. People, please stop getting your hopes up for Jimmy Johnson. Like, yeah, it'd be really cool to see him win again, get the 84th win, the 84, but I've given up hope on Jimmy Johnson winning again, even if it's a super speedway. Hate to burst your bubble there, David, but I don't have hope. But yeah, Jimmy Johnson is entered this week and next week at Kansas, so he's got a couple more races coming in the coming weeks. Let's see here. It was a good weekend for him. Hope, I think you're talking about SVG. I think I remember that comment coming up here. They show up for like 3 seconds, right? Well, you can't. Right here. You can't see my screen. I don't even know why I'm doing that. And I can kind of glance at him. I'll be reading one thing. I'll be talking, and I kind of see it when it happens, and sometimes I just straight up miss them. But yeah, SVG, as I said, good weekend for him. He kept the cars clean. I think that's a big important piece at these tracks is that you keep the car clean. He didn't bring back the prettiest results, but he led laps. He got some learning experiences, and ultimately he kept the cars clean. So I think Xfinity, if I were to rightfully place him with how he did throughout the day, if it was up to me, he would have had a top 10. Cup, I would have given him a top 20, probably. I put a 17th, 16th, but it's not up to me. There's a reason these races are run. There's a reason things happen. 22nd in Xfinity, 28th in Cup. That sounds right. Could be wrong. I don't know, but that's how he did. All the Wendy's cars look good, in my opinion, says Buffalo. Yeah, as I said, I love that Cup Series paint scheme that they have. The Xfinity Series is still really nice looking. I just don't think it's anywhere as good as the Cup Series paint scheme. If they just did the Xfinity one and didn't even show me the Cup one, I've said, hey, that's a really good one. That's, a pretty car. The blue is pretty. They're going for, it's a cold frosty, and, blue is kind of the color of cold, There you go. It's great. But then you show up with the red and blue flames and the fries on the side of the car, and it's like, ooh. Made me hungry. Very hungry during the race. Thankfully, I had some snacks with me. 2 SHR cars had the same livery. Oh, I have a video of Josh Berry and Noah Gragson restarting side by side for the lead, and I want to send it to Overstock and see if they'll use it for a promotional video. I don't know. Maybe they'll, sponsor. I don't know, do something. But I got that video. I thought that was hilarious, and I know some people were making some jokes or making some memes with it. So, yeah. Did you yell Prosper, Texas for Chris Buescher? Is that in between the lanes? Is that even a question? Of course I did. And of course I have video evidence of it. He went out for his qualifying lap, and I yelled Prosper, Texas. So one of these days, I'll get up there. And I'll make a video up there. It'll be somewhat special. Speaking of the 4,000 subscriber special, it's supposed to be reacting to old SVG supercars highlights. I will get on that. This laptop is old. I'm literally going to Best Buy tomorrow to look at new laptops, but just thought I'd give you an update on that. It will happen soon, hopefully within the next week or two. But it's just not happening now because this laptop is old and it cannot record me watching stuff, which is annoying. So tomorrow, it could be solved tomorrow. It could be solved next week, but I'm at least going to look at laptops tomorrow. Barry and Gregson. Yep. Micah, yeah, we had just talked about that. Oh, I guess it's 2 comments later, so we were probably talking about the same thing. How hard was it to go from Texas to Talladega? I mean, it's not a fun drive. I'll just be blatantly honest. It is not a fun drive to drive from Dallas, Texas to Talladega or Lincoln, Alabama. It's 10-ish hours, and I'm trying to be sensitive here. You don't drive through the greatest region. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure Louisiana, Mississippi are great states, but you got to time out your stops. Make sure you're stopping at a good place. And also, there are some areas of I-20 that are just horribly paved. And you can literally feel the bumps go all the way through your body. You can try to avoid the potholes. You can try to avoid the bumps, but they are everywhere in some spaces. So, with all due respect, there needs to be a lot of repaving through there. And just also, I don't want to trash areas because I'm sure there's a chance that someone from here is there, but it's not my favorite drive. I don't like long road trips necessarily, but that one is not also, Birmingham's nice. I will say Birmingham's nice. It's got some great areas. It's got some great food too. And, on my end, I've grown up in Dallas, so I know this area. It's great here, but just some of the middle area is a little, I don't know. I'm getting sidetracked. I'm just going to move on before I end up saying something stupid. I mean, I say some stuff stupid all the time, but, you guys get my point. Different tire compounds will be tested as the main news. Yeah, in terms of the All-Star format. Reading the 2021 All-Star format was too much for my brain. I will admit, Micah, I was at that race and I was confused the whole time. I got to the point by segment 4 out of 20 or however many it was that I was like, all right, I'm just going to wait to see how they end up stacking up. And then that's how I'll know who I'm going to think is going to win this race. So, and then Kyle Larson won anyways because he won everything in 2021. I somehow got the most points in the league for Talladega, says Matt Smith. Matt Smith, we're going to go to the standings right now. We are going to go to the fantasy standings because I kind of forgot about it. It got mentioned at the beginning of the live stream, but I was in the middle of my long monologue. But we're going to look at the fantasy standings. If you want to join the fantasy standings, or not the standing, well, yeah, if you want to join the fantasy standing, you want to join the fantasy league, feel free to join. We're 10 weeks in. You'll be a little bit behind, but you know what? It's all about having fun. The results don't matter. It's just, bragging rights at this point. I had a terrible week. I looked at the standings already before this thing to see how bad I did. But it's all about having fun, guys. It truly is about having fun. So here are your standings, the newest standings in our Nikolai P. Culp official league. I'll find a better name one of these days, I promise. Next season, I'll get a better name. Still leading, is Big Hat LJ. Overtook Zerkman 95 for the lead last week or 2 weeks ago. But we have a new second place sitter. It's Dan the Jets fan. Dan the Jets fan is in second. So good for him. He's only 30 points out of the lead. Zerkman 95 from first to third just in the past couple of weeks. PC_18 is fourth. That's a promotion, I think, for him. It Factor Autosport Incorporated drops to fifth. Dr. Zero is sixth. Hell on Wheels 24 is seventh. Eighth place is Pins_22. I fell to ninth. I went really aggressive. I put BJ McLeod in my fantasy league, and I felt really good in that first stage. Wasn't meant to be. So, my bad. I think I'll make it up at Dover, though. I think I got a good lineup this week. RT Racing is 10th. Otterbear 8 is 11th. Matt Smith is 12th. That was who commented. Matt Smith, 53. 45 and 23, 11 fan is 13th. Stevie G is 14th. Micah MLB 15th is 15th. Shane Van Hamburger Buns is 16th. And Tyler Hernandez, our newest entry, is 17th. So thank you guys for all playing. As I said, it's all about having fun, man. I don't care if you get 1 point. I don't care if you get 0 points. I don't care if you get, I don't even know what the max points is, 300 points. Anywhere in there. As long as you're having fun, I'm having fun. That's all what this is about. So feel free to join the fantasy league. Once again, there's no incentive. You don't get $1 billion or anything if you win this. It's genuinely for fun, for bragging rights, whatever you want to say. So yeah, that's what all this is about. Best Buy, former sponsor in NASCAR, says in between the lanes. Yeah, they sponsored the 17 there for a while. I got the diecast of Stenhouse, the 2013. It's somewhere in a box under my bed, I think, or closet. It's somewhere. Great weekend for SVG, considering his mother passed away over the... Is that true? That's sad. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. That's what this website says. Well, that's sad. Well, that's unfortunate. Well, it says on April 15th. Death is always sad. So, that's sad. I don't really know what else to say. Condolences and all that, obviously, to SVG. So, that's really sad. I didn't know that. I hadn't seen anything on that either. But obviously death, especially in the family, a parent too, that's got to be extremely tough, especially when, he's over here now, over in the U.S. That's tough for him. So sad to hear. Kyle Larson, a lap down. Yeah, Kyle Larson, I'm very curious what the penalty report is going to be this week. because he got penalized. They pulled the car from qualifying. He wasn't even allowed to qualify. He had 3 straight poles up to this point, but ultimately did not even get a chance to defend his pole streak. And something was iffy on the car, and they ultimately decided to pull it, checked it. I don't even know if they confiscated anything or they just, made him change some stuff, but it was so illegal that a bunch of team members got ejected. They already had a couple pit crew members suspended for the wheel incident last week at Texas, and ultimately he had to start at the tail of the field. He had to come down pit road on lap 1 to serve a pass-through penalty, win a lap down, but he was able to get it back by the end of the first stage. But yeah, 2 straight weeks, says Duke Chronic. 2 straight weeks that Larson is fast and loses laps. Yeah, last week at Texas, I think was a little bit more of a gut punch for them just because they had led so many laps. They had won a stage. They're really fast at that style of racetrack. I don't think Larson's going to be as hurt about this one. They never even got a chance to speed, but, we can assume that they were going to be fast. But also, Larson's he's just not good at the super speedways, man. I'm just going to straight up say it. He always gets caught up in something, whether it's his fault. His average finish is pretty bad. He's never won there. I'm trying to think if he's even gotten a top 5 at a super speedway. It's rough. So Larson, as talented as he is, as many tracks as he's won at, the super speedways always bite him, so I don't think he's as hurt this week. When do you think Ford will win? Not this week. I'll be a little surprised if they win this week. Dover has not been their strength. Talladega, I would have said, is when they're going to win. But Dover, so here's the thing. 2 weeks ago, I talked about how bad Chase Elliott is at Texas. He wins Texas. Last week, I talked about how bad Truex and Larson are at super speedways. Truex got a little too close for my liking because I would have looked really dumb for 2 weeks in a row. But, Larson and Truex both crashed on the last lap, so ended up evening itself out. But Ford, you have to go back quite a bit to get to one of their wins. So last year, Martin Truex Jr., Toyota, won at Dover. 2022, Chase Elliott, Chevrolet, won at Dover. 2021, Alex Bowman, Chevrolet, won. And then 2020, we had Denny Hamlin win one of the races in a Toyota, and Kevin Harvick was the last Ford to win at Dover. So you've got to go back 40 years. You've got to go back, 5 races since the last time that a Ford has won at Dover. And as cold as they are right now, I am avoiding Ford in my fantasy lineup. Logano historically has not been great there. I think he's led a few laps, but I don't think he's ever won at Dover. I'm struggling to think of when he's been like top 5 at Dover. I'm sure he's got some, but Logano and Dover is not a pairing I think of. Keselowski's got a few wins at Dover. Maybe. I think Buescher's won there in Xfinity, maybe, but I'm not feeling good about Ford right now. Dover's not going to be at Kansas. We've seen Blaney show speed at Kansas before. We've even seen Brad be fast there before. Logano's obviously got a couple of wins there, so maybe, but doubtful. I think Toyota's going to be just too strong at Kansas. I think Larson's going to be too fast at Kansas. Darlington, they got a shot with Brad, Joe, Blaney. Blaney, statistically, I don't think Darlington's one of his better tracks, but he's improved over the last year or so. But Brad, I think, will be up there. I think Joey will be up there. Even SHR might maybe be there, but after that, I'm trying to think of a race that they'll genuinely be the favorites in, and I can't, other than a super speedway, and we don't go to a super speedway till August in Daytona. Road courses, you'll have a shot with McDowell. But Ford, it's tough. They got a tough road. They're going to end up winning probably before the end of May, if I had to guess. But it's tough to think like 1 week that they're going to have circled on their calendar and be like, oh, yeah, that's their week. Like what we were saying this past week about Talladega, we're like, oh, yeah, this is the week. This is the week they're going to get it done. I don't have that in the near future. I don't have it at Dover. I'm maybe Ford might do better at Kansas once again, but it could be a while. But realistically, I think before the end of May, I think they will for sure win. I'm not saying they're going to go out and dominate a race, but we all know how NASCAR works. Crazy things happen. Someone blows a tire with 3 to go. A couple people stay out. Restarts get crazy. Guy who was irrelevant most of the race freaking wins. So ultimately, Ford may need a little luck to win, but it's NASCAR. You never know. They also have the second most numbers, so they might have the most, actually. But yeah, I'm not feeling good about Ford right now. No one's feeling good about Ford. Kyle had 3 poles, and NASCAR was watching them closely and got pinched. Yeah, I mean, I think NASCAR watches everyone who's consistently fast closely. But obviously, with these next gen rules being so strict, I mean, we've seen so many penalties handed out. Midweek penalties. SHR's got hit like 5 times. Oh my God, SHR. Hendricks got hit a couple of times. Joe Gibbs a couple of times. Legacy's got hit a couple times. RFK got hit once. Front Row got hit once. I remember at the beginning, it was all Ford teams. Speaking of Ford, it was first one was RFK. They were the first big ones. Then it was SHR. Then it was Front Row. Those were like the first big 3 ones. But then it started to, even itself out. Like, as I said, Hendrick got hit a few times. Gibbs got hit a couple of times. So ultimately, it's kind of evened itself out. But yeah, but this next gen era is really strict. You can't bend the rules like you used to be able to. Like, it's some of the stuff, it's black and white. If the part doesn't fit into their little kind of snow cone that they got, that's a shape cookie cutter kind of thing, you're getting penalized. You're getting slapped with a big penalty. So I'm curious to see how illegal his car was and to see if they get a points penalty, because that's big for Larson. Larson's accumulated a lot of playoff points so far. So to take a hit like that, especially with the early rounds of the playoffs having road courses and super speedways, to lose any playoff points, that's a big deal for a contender like Larson, if you ask me. Larson's best finish on a super speedway is 4th. Could not even tell you when it was. Was it that Talladega race in 2022 when he wrecked the field coming to the stripe? When he wrecked Kurt Busch and Bubba Wallace and Ross Chastain won? Was that it? I bet that was it. So, yeah, the one time he finished good, he had to wreck the field to finish good. Martinsville is Ford's last one with Blaney. That was in October. Okay. What? That's 6 months. See? All right, I can do quick math in my head. I know that because irrelevant. But yeah, it's been 6 months since Ford has won a race. That's tough. And tough is an understatement. That is a punch in the face, a drop kick in the throat, a bucket of nails dumped on your head. That is something that they did not want to hear. But that's tough. I don't think they've even won a National Series race this year. I don't think they've won a truck race. I don't think they've won an Xfinity race. The closest they've got to winning a race this year, if that statement is true, is Ryan Sieg at Texas. And he lost by that much. Oh, man. I hate to be a Ford fan right now. I'd be losing my mind. Or a Ford executive. If I'm rip my hair out. Maybe, yeah, just a bit. Just a bit. Just a bit. I'm losing my mind by as much as Ryan Sieg lost by. Is that too soon? Too soon? I was rooting for Ryan Sieg if it makes you feel better. Martin Truex Jr. back-to-back wins at Dover. Yeah, so looking forward to next week. Thinking about the favorites, I think Truex has got to be the absolute favorite. He's won at Dover 3, 4, 5. He won there. He didn't win there with Michael Waltrip, but he won with multiple teams. Like, he's got that place figured out, one of his 500 home tracks. So I think he's got to be the favorite. I think Chase Elliott, he does really good at Dover. He's got a couple of wins there. He's run top 5 a lot there. Kyle Larson's always fast, so I'd put him in that group. Denny Hamlin's always fast. William Byron. But looking at Dover specifically, I'd say Truex is my favorite. I'd say 2 through 5 are Larson, Elliott, Hamlin, Byron. maybe outside the box. I think Chastain would be my next guy. Chastain in the next gen era has been really good. He was up in the top 5 in 2022 before he got wrecked on the last lap. And last year in this race, he actually finished runner up. So Chastain, really good at Dover. I looked up the odds this morning. I think he was like 14 to 1. Maybe he was 12 to 1, somewhere in that range. So that's not bad value, honestly. But I think those are probably your 6 guys if I had to pick a winner from. I know Bowman's won there before. He should be fast, but I don't see him beating his teammates. I don't see him beating Truex. And then you look at the other Gibbs guys, Bell for sure has a chance, I think, every week, except for super speedways maybe. But as for Ty Gibbs, I keep on saying he's going to win multiple races this year. He's got to prove me right. Come on, Ty Gibbs. You got to prove me right, man. But those are my favorites for this week. Ford and new fenders might be good for Dover. Oh, I guess they got new fenders this week. They need something to go their way. They need something. They need car steroids, if those exist. It's Nos in the Fast and Furious movies. They need that in their car right now. Just read that SVG will run the All-Star. I'm not sure if it's news, but it's new info to me. That's new info to me. Let's see who commented that. Powder. Yeah, that's news to me. SVG's original schedule was so his original schedule was Coda, Talladega, the Coke 600, Vegas in the fall, Talladega in the fall, Chicago, and he had one more. There was the 7th. It wasn't Wilkesboro. Maybe it was Daytona in the fall. Those were the 7. Maybe it was Phoenix. I don't know. But there were 7 of them. I don't think North Wilkesboro was on that race list. So if he is indeed racing at North Wilkesboro, that is news to me. I'm just searching Twitter for it. So sorry, I'm multitasking. I don't see anything on that. So I don't know if that's official yet. But if it ends up being official, that would be news to me. Powder, let me know where you read that. If you read it like online, or if it's some rumor on Twitter, or rumor on Instagram, rumor on what other social media. But just let me know where you read that. If it's like an Australian, New Zealand news company, if it was like someone in NASCAR, I'd like to know where you saw that. I don't know if this is real, but I'm hearing rumors about Stenhouse going to the 32 for 2311, which doesn't seem right at all. But out of all the numbers, 32. All right, so I have not made a video on this yet. There was a report that came out yesterday that JTG Doherty there's a chance that they lose Kroger. And Kroger has funded that team for the past 10 to 15 years. They've sponsored that car, the 47 car, whether it was Stenhouse in it, whether it was Priest in it, Busher, whoever was in that car. Kroger has sponsored that car, whether it was them directly or whether it was one of their brands, or someone that they have a partnership with, like Cheerios, or who was on the 47 this week? Bagels. I can't remember the company, but yeah, JTG part could leave, and so therefore there's a lot of questions for JTG Doherty. The ownership shuffle up would be huge. What is Brad Doherty going to do? Would my computer glitched out? Sorry. Would Brad Doherty try? Would they sell their charter? Would they find a replacement sponsor? But the irony is JGR finally finds a major sponsor. Just a couple years too late for Kyle Busch. Ty Gibbs was going to get the cup eventually, but it's a little humorous if you ask me that after the whole Kyle Busch saga, not finding a sponsor, not being able to pay him because they didn't have a sponsor, here just 2 years later, less than 2 years later, they've got Kroger knocking on their door. So it's ironic, but ultimately, if that does go through, JTG Doherty's got a lot of questions to answer, whether it's the ownership, whether it's the charter itself. Who would they sell the charter to? 2311's looking for a charter. Moto Club, remember that report a month ago that the teams looking for charters are Trackhouse, 2311, Legacy Motor Club. That was a random one. And who was it? Was Spire back on that list? Maybe. I don't know. But ultimately, I'm curious to see what happens if 2311 does buy a charter. Who do they put in that car? You said Stenhouse. I don't know. Maybe they put Heim in the car. Maybe Denny Hamlin does indeed drive for himself. I don't know. It's a good question. It's a really good question, but there's just too many unknowns right now to really even attempt to answer it. So, yeah, just making sure everything kind of glitched out for a second. So, I just want to make sure everything's working properly. But yeah, I don't know. There's too many questions in the air right now. I think Ford has a good chance in the Coke 600. Blaney won it last year and led a ton of laps. Yeah, Blaney dominated that race, but thinking back to it, I don't remember. Reconnect. You got to be kidding me. Hello? Is anyone there? Okay. All right. Okay. Cool. As long as you can hear me, that's good. If you can't hear me, just start spamming the comments that you can't hear me, and I'll do my best to figure it out. I don't even know where I was. Ford was going to win Dega, and they took each other out. Yeah, we talked about that. Ryan Truex racing at Dover. I don't know. It's a good question. Dover, the many home tracks have made it New Jersey's finest. Martin Truex Jr. That's accurate. I don't know what else to say other than that's accurate. MJ stole Brad's driver. I'm not sure what that means. Kroger's Tom who that brand was. I don't eat bagels. Okay. I'm just gonna assume this is working. Rick Hendrick Motorsports driver for Win Dover. Yeah, as I said earlier, they had that 1, 2, 3, 4 a couple of years ago. And then, Larson's won there. Elliott's won there a couple of times. Bowman's won there. Byron's the only one who hasn't won there. And he's, one of the hottest drivers in NASCAR. So he can win each and every week. So they're for sure going to be contenders. Who do you think will lead the most laps at Dover? I think Truex, says Micah. Who will lead the most laps? That's always a complicated question. Truex is a great guess, but I don't know. Larson's led the most laps this year. If his car's legal and they let him qualify, probably Larson, maybe Hamlin. If Elliott's as good as I think he'll be, maybe he has a shot at it, but I'm leaning Larson and Truex. One of those two will lead the most laps. That's a complicated question just because it's kind of unpredictable. Like, you can see two guys dominate the race. Truex can lead 138 laps. Larson leads 148, and, Truex wins because, they just outdid him by that much on the last run. So that's a hard one to predict, but I'll say Truex or Larson. You lean Truex, so I'll be different. I'll lean Larson. Okay, everyone's saying that we're good. What happened? Says Buffalo. I wish I could tell you. Sometimes my internet just glitches out, and it picked this hour to glitch out, which is disappointing because this is like the hour that I don't want it to glitch out, so I can actually talk to the people. Could you agree Joey Logano and Ryan Preece are similar to Martin Truex Jr. with having many home races? Where's Preece? Preece is from Connecticut. Rhode Island? He's from the Northeast. He's somewhere in the Northeast. Logano's from Connecticut. I know that for a fact. See, Truex is from New Jersey, so geographically, I think Dover, yeah, Delaware. Pennsylvania, Pocono's kind of eastern Pennsylvania, so that's kind of close. New Hampshire's farther away, so that's tougher. I don't know. You see, I have it nice and easy. I have it all easy. Texas Motor Speedway is 30 minutes away from me. The next closest track is 3 hours away from me. So I've got it nice. Martin Truex Jr. apparently just does not have it nice and easy in terms of picking his home track. But here we are, talking about all 500 of his home tracks. I thought Martin Truex Jr. this past weekend at his home track of Talladega, he was doing really good until that last lap. But it's the joke that keeps on going. So far this year, only 4 teams have won all the races. Yeah. And both teams that are not Hendrick or Gibbs who have won, they won on super speedways. Now, I would argue Reddick could have won at Texas last week, so could have a non-super speedway win, but that's not how it panned out. And ultimately, we're sitting here, and the only non-Hendrick Gibbs winners are on super speedways. Suarez at Atlanta and Reddick at Talladega. You see, Suarez winning at a super speedway is not completely shocking, but, if you told me that him and Reddick were the only non-Hendrick Gibbs winners through 10 races, that would have surprised me a bit. And then Reddick, his only win being on a super speedway is a little bit surprising because I've never considered him a great super speedway racer. He's run up front, Daytona in 2022 when the field wiped itself out. He protected Austin Dillon. Other than this year's duel, he won the duel race this year at Daytona, but I can't think of another time that he's been up front at a super speedway. Leading laps, running in the top 10, being up in contention for the win. I genuinely can't think of another time. I've never considered Reddick really a super speedway guy, but he was there today, or yesterday, 2 days ago. It's been 2 days. My goodness. Yeah, just crazy, man. So, all right, well, it's been a little over an hour now, so thanks to you all for watching. I had a good time. We answered some questions. We had a little bit of an internet glitch, which, fun. But we had a lot of good questions today. Got to talk about the Talladega weekend a bit. We talked about Dover next week, so that'll be fun. I'll have my pick out on Sunday as always. Haven't looked up the weather there. Terrified to look up the weather there. It's a miracle. That's another thing. I genuinely was shocked that we got every single session in on time this weekend. I thought at least one qualifying session would have been canceled and the Cup race would have been pushed to Monday, but nope. So it was great. The weather worked out perfectly. But tomorrow I'll have my full weekend video of everything I saw. It'll be a fun one. It'll be a long one, but it'll be a fun one. So I'm looking forward to posting that. Any other news I got for you guys? I'm anticipating something in the penalty report tomorrow. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong. I'm wrong a lot of the time. But thank you guys again for watching. Hope you enjoyed this live stream. I always enjoy these live streams. Join the Fantasy League if you haven't. It's always a ton of fun. And as I said, I'll see you guys later. So thanks again.